This is 3D shot on a professional bin splitter rig, the same core idea used by James Cameron's team at Lightstorm Entertainment to build the stereoscopic 3D look of Avatar. And this is shot on the iPhone in spatial video. Can you tell the differences? Probably not on YouTube. But inside a headset, when something flies right into your face, when a talent like Kitty moving from background to close distance, when focus shift while 3D stays comfortable, that's where the James Cameron's in-camera 3D magic reveals itself. Most people think better 3D means higher resolution. It's not. The interaxial distance control, the convergency, and how focus and depth dance together is an art form that smartphone or fixed IPD camera rigs simply just don't have the mechanics to do so. So today, I'm testing something wild. Can a relatively affordable bin splitter rig powered by LiDAR technology recreate the kind of close-up stereoscopic language normally reserved for James Cameron's film? Can we fake the big budget look, or will it fall apart the moment we put it next to an iPhone or a Canon Spatial Lens? Let's find out. And we are doing the scary kimchi text. Yes, Shiba Inu coming straight into the lens. Then in part 2, I will show you how we bring this footage into DaVinci Resolve and mix rectilinear stereo with Apple immersive video from the Blackmagic Ursa Cine immersive camera right there to reproduce that cinematic Apple TV close-up 3D look that everyone recognizes but nobody explain or know how to do. This channel is about reverse engineering immersive camera tech. Not just theory, but practical tips that you can take home today. We break down the tools Hollywood use and rebuild them in way independent creator can actually afford. So grab your headset, Apple Vision Pro, Meta Quest, Samsung Galaxy XR, whatever you got, and I will see you in 3D.
No! No. Please let me work out in peace. I need to.
So let's talk about what we're using right here. Right now, I'm being filmed on a vertical stereoscopic setup, 2 combat cinema camera stacked shooting into a portable bin splitter system called the 3D Air from PD Movie. Just like the Blackmagic Ursa Cine Immersive, there's a LiDAR sensor in the front measuring the key subject distance in real time. The LiDAR data is used to drive focus, keeping the left and right lens synchronized. Interaxial distance, however, is handled differently. Instead of relying on the LiDAR, the system actually analyzes both HDMI feed, calculates stereo separation from the image, and then smoothly adjusts the cameras to maintain comfortable 3D. Because near subject should have less stereo depth for comfort, but far object should have more to preserve the scale. And that's how human vision works. And that is the major limitation of fixed IPD system like an iPhone or point and shoot 3D camera. This is a real in-camera stereoscopic capture, not AI depth estimation, not post-conversion, because a large number of modern Hollywood movies nowadays build their 3D primarily in VFX after the fact, instead of capturing optically on set. And that difference really matters. It's a big reason why movies by James Cameron like the Avatar Fire and Ash feel more immersive, more dimensional, and more comfortable. The 3D depth behaves like photography, not something artificially created and edited after filming. If you have the opportunity to see Fire and Ash in IMAX 3D, do it. It's so worth it. Now, I'm not saying I know exactly how Cameron's team build their rig or shoot their movie. Hollywood protect those workflows behind closed doors. But by studying those movies carefully and comparing them with what Apple is doing in immersive video, we can make educated guess. They are likely using a high-end Sony Venice camera paired with like a Rialto extension system built for stereoscopic 3D production, where the crew can independently control left and right eye focus in sync, interaxial distance, and convergency. Traditionally, a system like this will need a team to operate. You have the camera operator, like James Cameron himself here, framing the shot, and you have the focal puller, manage sharpness, and you have the stereo or interaxial operator controlling the distance between the lens. Minimum 3 people, at least, if not more. Now, for headset viewing, especially immersive 180, toe-in conversion usually isn't necessary, so we did not build that into the rig. On the 3D Air here from PD Movie, the system actually analyzes both HDMI feed, calculates stereo separation from the image. That means we no longer need a dedicated person to run the IPD. Then, with the LiDAR, the system knows how far the subject is in real time. It can drive focal motor automatically, so now the focal puller becomes optional too. What used to require a small crew now can be operated by just one creator. No extra payroll, no giant camera array, and no complicated communication between departments. And that is the real breakthrough, because independent filmmakers like us can finally chase cinematic 3D without sacrificing image quality and without sacrificing rent money. And that is really good news for art. In-camera 3D isn't just for movies anymore. Even James Cameron is bringing it into light music with Billie Eilish concert film. The language is expanding. As headsets become more common, Apple Vision Pro, Meta Quest, future lightweight AR headset, audiences are learning how to see depth. So the time to learn is now, without going bankrupt, of course. This build right here is running on 2 Zcam E2 body, about $1,000 each on the used market. Saving money is also part of the design philosophy here. But the beauty of a bin splitter system like this is scalability. The same rig can grow. You can swap this for something like the Blackmagic Pixie 12K or even a pair of Red V Raptor bodies. Suddenly, your $5,000 indie build turned into a 6-figure cinema monster. And if you are serious about maximum image quality, compact bodies like the V Raptor are incredibly attractive because you can push toward true 8K per eye in 120 frames per second for M5 Vision Pro. Now, here's where some of you might disagree with me. From our work, we usually avoid prosumer players like the Sony FX3 or the Canon EOS C50 or R5C or similar bodies, even though you might see them used in the demonstration by the official advertisement. And here is the reasoning. If a camera cannot provide true Gen-Out, and if it cannot reach the 90 or 100 frames per second high frame rate some of the immersive platforms are moving forward, then it is no good. Cinema cameras are built differently. Stereoscopic comfort depends on the 2 sensors exposed at the exact same moment. Not close enough, but exactly. Collapsing is not enough. Audio sync is not enough. Even timecode sync is not enough. A huge amount of audience fatigue in the history of 3D can be traced back to this very reason. A quick disclaimer right here. None of my technical deep dive on this channel are sponsored. I buy my own gear and I use it on real production, many of which I can't even publicly talk about. I'm a working professional before I'm a YouTuber. What I teach comes from active jobs in the immersive space. And the standard I share right here are the same one I would apply if my name was on the final delivery. But by saying that is my current understanding. And 3D has a long history. There are experts in the field who were solving this problem long before YouTube even dared. So, if you see something I could improve, if you solve it differently, or if you think I'm wrong, please jump into the comment section down below. Challenge me, correct me, add to it. Because the goal here is not to win an argument. The goal here is to help the entire immersive community build better, more comfortable 3D. To make stereoscopic knowledge more open source together. Now, back to where Gen-Lock matters. Here in Resolve, you can see these clips are Gen-Locked, but the scratch audio is not. If you try to sync by waveform or timecode, they will be misaligned. And over time, drift in stereo become fatigue, and fatigue become headache. So for me, Gen-Lock is not optional. Even the iPhone 17 Pro can do Gen-Lock when paired with the Blackmagic Camera Pro dock. So if you are looking for an entry-level bin splitter 3D that is both affordable and portable, 2 iPhone on the PD movie system can be a really good option. We will dive deeper into that later. The other requirement is frame rate. For traditional cinema, many cameras will be fine. For Apple immersive video, you will need at least 90 frames per second. The Zcam E2 can reach up to 120 frames per second at 4K. 4K per eyes in 90 frames per second is more than enough for high-end immersive delivery. So when you choose a camera body, pay close attention. Sync and frame rate really matter more so than the pixels. So now you know my build, let's put it to the test. First, we have the PD movie LiDAR rate. We are shooting at the t-stop of 2.2 wide open ISO 500 and I walk very close to the camera. Notice what happened. The background's compressed, my nose stays sharp, depth is clean and defined, yet it remains comfortable to view. Now, I am invading your personal space now, basically at kissing distance. And that is how human vision works. When something is this close, your eye converge into the subject and everything just falls away. The rate is reproduce that behavior. It draws attention to the center and remove distraction. And even when I move way far back to the chart, you can still feel very strong continued depth throughout the frame. Now we switch to Canon EOS R7 with the spatial lens. Here's almost everything is in focus, including the trash can in the background. 3D comfort in extreme close-up is actually really good, but watch what happened as I step back toward the focal chart. The sense of depth just collapsed quickly. The image feels flat or 2D. You may also notice pronounced focal breathing as I move out the frame. The autofocus change are very visible, and for some viewer that can feel distracting. Now you're looking at the spatial video from the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Again, everything is in focus, very sharp across the frame. It has that familiar action camera or phone camera look. In extreme close range, the stereo is way too much. At medium distance though, the depth actually holds up better than the Canon in this example, which is interesting. But look closely at the center of the focal chart. You will notice chromatic aberration and subtle mismatch between the lenses. Those small optical differences can translate into actual work for the brain. And when I exit the frame, watch how quickly focal transition. It's fast, unnaturally fast, and that speed can also reduce comfort. No stereo comparison is complete without the kimchi test. So please welcome the real star of the show, Kimchi! Watch what happens here. The LiDAR is tracking distance in real time, adjusting focus and interaxial distance as Kimchi moves. You might not even have experienced a dog this close in spatial video without wanting to lean back. The depth stay natural, your eyes know exactly where to look. On comparison, here is the iPhone. Same move, same dog, very different feeling. Kimchi, come in for the 3D attacks. The 3D is way too much. Your brain is working overtime now to just make sense of the image. Nothing is technically wrong, but your eyeball just go hour now, and that eye strain begins and headache will start. So here's my conclusion. For medium shot or wide shot, the difference between the iPhone, the Canon, or the 3D Air system is small. If your goal is to document life, memory, or everyday's moment, your iPhone is good enough. But filmmaking is not documentation. Filmmaking is control, focus, separation, where the audience should look and what they should feel. If you want that cinematic, hyper-real feeling, foreground separation, controlled fall-off, deliberate storytelling, the kind of cinema language you see in James Cameron films like Avatar, Fire and Ash, then a bin splitter system like the 3D Air right here become extremely powerful and necessary. My setup here is a bit of a Frankenstein build, lots of used part, a bit DIY, shitty rig style, all in around $5,000 but it works. We are getting 12-bit raw, 120 frames per second, 4K per eye, excellent detail. And when paired it correctly with footage from the Blackmagic Ultra Cine immersive camera, it becomes a very strong option for close-up camera work in Apple Immersive Video. If you want to judge the result properly though, download the AI video file from my Patreon and watch it inside your Apple Vision Pro. See it with your own eye, then decide. In the next tutorial, we will show you exactly how we process this in DaVinci Resolve. Also, please don't use AI to fake stereo 3D. Because when we replace photography with AI estimation, when we slap synthetic depth on top and call it innovation, We are not helping the format. We are training your audience to distrust it. Bad 3D comfort doesn't just hurt your video, it hurts the future of immersive storytelling. We already watched one way of 3D collapse because too many shortcuts were taken. Don't kill spatial video the same way, with AI slop. We, as human storytellers, can do better, and we must do better. Light stereo monitor has always been one of the hardest parts of traditional 3D production. But today, the situation is very different because AR glasses has become affordable and widely available. The 3D Air can actually output full resolution side-by-side in 4K and half screen side-by-side at 1080p at 60 frames per second. This gives us option. From your monitor, you can simply take an HDMI loop out and fit it into AR glasses like the Xfield 1 or the TCL Ray Neo. And once you have that signal, you can distribute it wirelessly to multiple viewers on set. Director, clients, producer. No more guessing what the stereo will feel like later. They see it live. Now, creative decisions happen in the moment. Blocking, distance, comfort, things that would normally become post-production problem can be solved immediately on set. Every system has its trade-off, and an affordable LiDAR drive beam splitter like the 3D Air is no exception. The first thing you will notice is the sound. When the motor moves, you'll hear them. My setup is relatively light, but if you mount a heavy cinema camera body, the motor will work harder. The harder it works, meaning more noise. So plan your audio capture accordingly. Second, calibration. Be prepared. You're not pulling this thing out of your backpack and shooting in 5 minutes. Giving yourself time on set to align, balance, and verify everything is very important. At least an hour, if not more. Compared to old beam splitter generation though, this is already dramatically easier. If you came from the legacy stereo rig, you know how painful that used to be. If you can though, hire a 3D specialist to watch your back.
Look at the camera. Look at the chart. Look away. I messed up. Wrong direction.
Now, LiDAR is very powerful, but it's not magic. If your scenes has complicated depth, relationship, or if storytelling requires a very deliberate focal pulling, automatic adjustment may not make the choice you want. That's when you switch to manual mode. Bring in a focal puller or AC if budget allow. It is still cinema. Humans are part of the system. In the next tutorial, I'm going to show you how to take this footage and shape it into two different distinct destinations. For cinematic, stereoscopic presentation, the kind of visual language you recognize in film like Avatar, and for full 180 immersive playback inside the Apple Vision Pro. Same capture, different finish philosophy. With Meta working closely with Lightstorm Entertainment and Apple pushing high-end spatial video, stereoscopic 3D is becoming a core creative skill. Headsets are getting lighter, more social, more accessible, for devices like Meta Quest to the new wave of glasses coming from Samsung and Google. They all expect stereoscopic 3D. So this is the moment to learn it together. Subscribe right here if you want to understand how modern stereo is crafted. Turn down the AI noise. Let's build the future of storytelling as human together. One spatial frame at a time. I will see you in the next tutorial. Ciao!